Dandy's Wood has many factors of luck and heavily relies on them. If you played the game at all, just look at the base game. When starting a run, you get put into a random floor. There are random items of varying rarities scattered around. Machine placements are random. Twisteds within the floor are random. Then when you finish the floor, Dandy's shop has 3 random items with different rarities. The whole game depends on luck. But yes, some of it is just basic game design. So what's the issue? The issue isn't the basic concept of randomness, it's how the game decides to use it. Some tunes, some trinkets, and some items have this luck, this RNG. A game this RNG heavy will have problems, lots of them. The gameplay can suffer just from how much it stacks upon each other. First things first, what is RNG exactly? It stands for Random Number Generator. As the name implies, it selects a random number from a defined set of possibilities. So what breaks from RNG? It breaks consistency, skill, difficulty, and survival. We'll go through these by looking at specific examples, like certain tunes and what parts of gameplay they break. And speaking of tunes, let's start with them. Let's start with Toodles, probably the earliest RNG dependent character you can unlock, and yeah, she isn't that good. I won't be covering her stats, since RNG really kicks in with her ability. When her ability is activated, you get a low 15% boost to a random stat. I will not be going into the specifics of how each stat increase works, instead I'll explain how RNG breaks gameplay here. First, the ability doesn't teach any actual skill, the ability simply boosts a stat, and because of how low the increase is, it doesn't show how these stats can work or how to even properly use an active ability. The ability is also very inconsistent. For example, you can get a movement speed boost while in panic mode, but you can also get extraction speed during it, which is completely useless in that moment. Even worse, you might get a stealth boost on a 4-star stealth tune. Toodles might not suffer from her ability, but she definitely doesn't earn anything from it either. I mean, next is a tune that would literally make players feel inconvenienced. Gigi is, by some, mischaracterized as the gambling tune. This characterization doesn't come from nowhere though, it comes from her active ability. Her ability upon being activated gives you a random item from any rarity. This runs into the same issues Toodles' ability has. The only real skill you might get from this is knowing when to save items or keeping a slot open so you can continue rolling for more items. Otherwise, this ability can feel like hand-holding just from having the chance to give you a good item. Inconsistency is one of the biggest flaws here. You're either getting something good like a valve, or something as useless as a stealth candy. This is why it might feel like a detriment to players. You'll either get an item that can hog your inventory slots, like a stopwatch, or you'll get a heal. Even then, getting a heal can also hog up an inventory slot, or be put into your first slot where it can be easily stolen from Twisted Gigi. While we're still on the topic of Gigi, let's talk about what I believe is the only RNG based trinket, Lucky Coin. To explain what it does, at the start of every floor it rolls and gives you a small 12% boost to a random stat for the rest of that floor. It has the same issues as the previous 2 examples, so I won't say it again to prevent redundancy. While it is nice to have a boost for the rest of the floor, it can easily be useless if it rolls a stealth boost. You get no agency of what the boosted stat will be. You can roll a movement speed boost on a passive floor, where it doesn't matter. Honestly, expecting agency from RNG is like expecting Blushcrunch to actually add to Dandy's Wood gameplay loop. Well, these might feel like very minor issues, and they pretty much are compared to the bigger RNG issue Dandy's Wood has. It's the base game mechanics. I believe the biggest of them all are the Twisteds, in literally every way, shape, or form. Inside of runs, you get a random set of Twisteds. The amount is a set number depending on how many players remain in the run, but every run will end up with 8 Twisteds unless it is a solo run. The break here is from difficulty scaling and survivability. For difficulty, it just isn't being used properly. I know what one might say, but doesn't having proper skill help deal with all this? At a certain point, sure, anyone skilled enough can distract all mains with the grabbers, but this completely ignores likely a major part of the player base which struggle even reaching floor 20. And no, this is not an invitation to say, I can make it to floor 20 easily. A lot of long runs, which trust me, I have hosted before, with these competent, smarter players still struggle since the RNG with twisted spawns have less room for human error. It's why strategies with distracting were made like duo distracting or jungle kiting. These help counteract for when Twisted Pebble, the Craft siblings, or Twisted Gigi spawns. The point is that the random twist is decided at the start of each floor can absolutely be a make or break factor for when a run is going to end or not. However, one can argue that you can move around this and it's just basic gameplay, which is fair. I have tried to develop alternative ways to prevent this. Trust me, it's hard. If anything, it's probably impossible without completely changing the game. If anyone has any ideas, feel free to share them in the comments. I will try my best to respond to every comment. Let's cover something with Twisteds that is a little more unavoidable, which made itself very clear during the Christmas event of 2025. It's research and twisted rarities. This doesn't actually break any of the factors I said RNG can break. It more so just breaks player time and patience. The research shows itself heavily for early game players, while for late game players, it really isn't something you need to worry about. Of course, commons aren't an issue at all, nor are uncommons, but rares and mains do start to get worse. This will be covered quickly since I don't think the issue is through the main game, and honestly, the worst that can happen is you're doing run after run with 2 main twisted that you still need 100% research on, but due to bad RNG, it's a struggle. Even with that, I feel like it can be forgiven easily and you're likely to forget about it. But what about things like events that aren't year-round? Christmas 2025 had only really 2 issues, if any, and one of them doesn't involve research. Grinding for the holiday mains isn't an easy task, and for some it can take a while to get them. However, I think within a month it's very doable. With Roger, I managed to get Twisted Bobette's full research within 12 hours. The biggest issue was the first time this feature had shown up. Toon Quest. RNG was so bad that this was easily the most hated part of the event. It was the cold quest in specific that caused an outrage. Just a disclaimer, everything that will be said here comes from the Danish World Wiki, which may be inaccurate. If you know anything is wrong, feel free to say so in the comments. I'll likely pin it or list it in the pinned comment I make. This was due to how the twisted spawning system worked, which made the rare class the rarest class. Common to rare have a set base chance for when a twisted of that class will appear. The main class started with being unable to spawn main twisteds, but it increased the higher floors the players would get to. The issue was how the main class did this. It did it by taking away at the base chance from other classes. All this basically makes the rare class being the rarest of them all, at least eventually. I won't go into too much detail since while it does show the flaws this system has, it's not the harshest element of RNG. And yes, I know it just rewards the skin, but I think it's cool to see how this quest kind of put more eyes on the twisted chance system. Also, just to add on to that, the daily twisted board, due to how the spawn chance works, actually just boosts the rarity class of the twisted on the board and not the twisted itself. Quill, however, has responded to the responses she got and plans on improving the next Toon Quest in some way, shape, or form. The last major RNG element are floor events. These events include Blackouts, Ichor Leaks, and Icetober for the Christmas event. They don't appear until floor 3, which all of the floor events will have the same percentage of appearing. The only real break here is consistency, survivability, and a little bit of difficulty. Due to the same percentages every floor event has, the predictability of which event may happen isn't there. I wouldn't say that's a fully bad thing though. It makes the game challenging after all. It's why this section will likely be real quick. Floor events are meant to be challenging, and the RNG element isn't so heavy here. Survivability is more of a major factor here, which can also be put with difficulty and consistency. With Blackouts and Ichor Leaks being the only permanent floor events, it makes sense to be able to easily compare the two. Now, which one is better is likely depends on the person you ask. Like a distractor is more likely to say Ichor Leaks are worse than Blackouts due to Ichor puddles being more of a threat and reducing survivability of their playstyle. Let's return to the RNG talk. The point is the randomness of which floor event you get is inconvenient. This is all I have for the video. Due to me being busy with school and the Squirm update, this whole video was kind of made in a rush. I still wanted to get it out there in time. As per usual, subscribe if you want more content like this, like if you agree with me, and thank you.